Schedules didn't align, so it is what it is. But let's just go over
Yeah,
what did you have last week for predictions? Because I never got them from you. Do you even remember what you predicted?
yeah, I do. So I had you guys beating the Jags. I had
Okay.
Buffalo. I had the Eagles, and I had the Cowboys. So I was
Two for
50%.
four. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would
Now
make
you
you.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make you. One, two, three, four, five, and then six, seven. What? So 7-3. 7-3 on the year, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And you're undefeated.
I am undefeated, 10-0. It's quite. I'm never gonna go
Dang.
on a stretch like this again in my life. I'm getting all the right picks, so hoping I can keep that rolling
Crazy.
into today. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and let's recap the divisional round. So we have the Chiefs and Jags was the first game. What are we thinking about it?
I mean, that was a very good game. I mean, Jacksonville kind of just like tripped over themselves at the end there. That fumble near the goal line, and Christian Kirk dropped some passes, and I know they're definitely a good team, but I think it was the Chiefs are I think a much better team on paper, and I mean I think the Jags are riding momentum too. So it's one of those things where the Jags played very well, and I expected them to play well, but I think they exceeded my expectations. But I think they definitely probably could have won this game. I think they could have. They didn't screw up. I think they had problems that limited them from scoring that were very costly. So yeah, it was a good game to watch though. Definitely a fun one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The inexperience showed, I felt like, for the Jaguars in this game. They couldn't get it done when it mattered. They had a prime opportunity to take back the game when Mahomes went out for a portion of the game with his ankle and even came back. He was limping on his throws, his dropbacks, everything. So the Jags really had a good opportunity to take advantage of that, and they didn't. It was rather odd to me that Mahomes is losing his mobility, and that he's not going to be as effective outside the pocket. So why are you not blitzing him? It's weird. It's weird to me. They didn't blitz him hardly at all. They didn't
Yeah,
pressure him hardly at all.
yeah,
Jerick McKinnon, as we know for the Chiefs, running back who's been on a tear for the Chiefs last 5, 6, 7 weeks, was completely silenced in this game. So
hmm
it seemed to me, and by the way, while McKinnon's being silenced and tackled on his carries, like the Jags are prepared for it, Kelsey, on the other hand, is getting wide open every single time he runs a route. How does that happen? To me, it seemed like the Jaguars cared more about getting Jerick McKinnon down than blocking Travis Kelsey and putting pressure on a bad ankle Patrick Mahomes. And I couldn't understand it. From a fan perspective, I couldn't understand it. Because if you just start blitzing Mahomes more, it's going to pressure him more. Could aggravate the injury further, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know, get him to throw away some balls and not go jump off of his one good ankle for a touchdown pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't know. It just seems like they had the wrong game plan going into it. They didn't really know what to do once Mahomes went out, and so they just, I guess, stuck to their original game plan when they could have had some um, things changed. I feel like, but again, it's just the inexperience. I feel like showed they had a great game the week prior against the Chargers, and that was about it. So the Chiefs hold off and beat the Jaguars, even despite the Mahomes ankle, and you just
right.
have to hope as a Chiefs fan that um, it won't be as bothersome to him against the Bengals today.
Yeah, and then also like Travis Kelsey, with his back and everything. I think he is expected to play, but I know he was questionable
That was odd
because
because he never got injured. He was
yeah,
all smooth and solid throughout the week on the practice injury reports, and then on the last practice day, boom, Travis Kelsey listed as questionable for the game, and I'm like, what? Did he get hurt during practice? He break ankle or something? Uh, yeah, like you said, apparently it's just back spasms, so he's expected to be good to go today. Good God, we need him because we ain't winning without him. So definitely need him back in. I'm hoping that was the extent of his injury and it won't be re-aggravated or anything, and he's just good to go, and he's good old Travis Kelce for the game. But yeah, it'll be good, and we'll talk about it more when we get there. So let's just go on. Bengals Bills. Did this surprise you at all? I mean, I'm gonna say yes since you had the Bills over the Bengals.
It definitely did surprise me, but I wasn't surprised per se that I was surprised that the Bengals won, but it didn't. I didn't have it down in my mind that like it would be a good game. Like it was definitely one of those games where I was like, it could go either way. I'm just picking Buffalo because I think they're like the better team. Which now I'm questioning that. I don't think that's true now because they lost pretty. Like it was a pretty one-sided game, and so I think like for Cincinnati, I feel like they're also a team that's sort of riding on like momentum, and they just beat Buffalo. So I mean, they're definitely going to be motivated, and we can get into the Chiefs Bengals game, momentarily. But I think for me, definitely surprised. But also I do acknowledge. I mean, Buffalo and Cincinnati, they're almost similar in the sense that like both have great quarterbacks, both have great like wide receiver ones and supporting cast, and they have their problems on both sides. I just think like Buffalo's defense kind of crumbled. I mean that from the opening drive for Cincinnati, they looked like they were going to have a good game, and they did. And so like I feel like it was just one of those things where Cincinnati played good in the right time, and I mean I'm sure they're excited to move on to the where they were last year, and play the Chiefs in a rematch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's interesting to me that a team that plays in Buffalo, a team that is based in Buffalo, is not built for Buffalo weather games.
Yeah,
I think the Bills were held uh, to not get to their full potential. I feel like they were just not prepared for the snowfall and the weather in general. And the reason I say that is because this is a highly pass team. Like this is a team that highly relies on the pass game. Their number one running back is Devin Singletary, and he's not necessarily a guy that you look to hand off to for touchdowns every game. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then Josh Allen, there were 3 crucial third downs in this game where he threw a deep bomb. You don't need to do that. You know? And so it failed on the conversion all 3 times, and that really killed the Buffalo Bills too. It just seems to me that the Bills are a high-scoring offensive team, and that mainly comes from the passing game. And they did not have a passing game because the weather of their own city held them back from being effective in that passing game. So it's just kind of funny that you're from Buffalo, but you're not built to play in Buffalo weather when it gets bad. So the Bengals absolutely took advantage of all the Buffalo mistakes. The Josh Allen overthrows, the Josh Allen third down deep bombs that didn't work. Like Josh Allen, 25 for 42. So I don't know, 206. I mean, he had more yards than Joe Burrow did, but still, you just gotta be built for this type of situation, and the Bills weren't. They weren't ready for it. The Bengals, they looked damn good. They looked prepared. They looked complete. They looked like they knew what they were doing, and they looked like they wanted a rematch with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So, yeah, I'm not all that surprised that the Bengals won. Like I said, I predicted them. The only thing that was kind of like in the back of my mind was, oh, well, the whole DeMar Hamlin thing, right? Where the whole world is on, or the whole NFL world's on edge about that. Like, oh, are the Bills going to go on some magical run now in his honor? And no. So the Bengals take care of business, and they're on to the next round.
Yeah, and I think too, like it starts to make me wonder, like, is Josh Allen as good as people say? Like, I yes, he's a great quarterback, but I mean, he was being referred to as the best or the second best behind Mahomes, or like top 3 with Burrow conversation, or whoever. But I feel like, I mean, the Bills were not playing great football towards the end of the season. Like they were a good team, but I mean they were not as good as they were earlier. And so I feel like Josh Allen was kind of the reason for that. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but I feel like he just, like you said, in his own city at his own stadium could not really perform at a high level.
The last time I feel like Josh Allen had a really good game was Week 6 against the Chiefs, or it might have been Week 8. I don't know. I think it was Week 6. But he's been so inconsistent this year. He
Yeah,
makes a lot of mental errors when it comes to getting rid of the ball. Like, you can tell he gets panicked really easily, and he'll just do something stupid like throw it up for grabs and get picked off or fumble it. He's not mentally there when it comes to high IQ decisions when it comes to the football game, because it's just you gotta sometimes take a sack or throw it out. You can't try to let a play continue and they get flourished and having to throw the ball up in the air for grabs. You just can't do that, and he does it very consistently. And it's mistakes that Burrow doesn't make. It's mistakes that Mahomes doesn't make. So you're absolutely right. I don't think that Allen is the best. I don't think he's the second best. I think he's maybe even outside of the top 5 in the league as of right now. I mean, last year and the year before, you could make a very good argument that yeah, he's top 5 for sure. But this year, he just didn't show it. Kind of felt like he regressed a little bit, even from the last couple of seasons. That's just how I saw it, but he hasn't played a complete game. He makes some mental errors far too often for him to be like a complete and consistent quarterback, in my eyes at least. And,
agreed. Yeah.
And I think I'm not gonna like go on a full list of who I think is better, but I don't think he's top 2. I don't think he's top 3. I don't even think he's top 5. But he's certainly been top 5 in prior years. He just has to regain the IQ that he showcased last year, I feel like. But yeah, so Giants Eagles.
Yep.
What a blowout.
I think yeah.
You know what's funny is actually, like, I was trying to come up with upsets last week, and I was like, because there's going to be an upset. Turns out there was only one upset, and it was Bengals over Bills, which is hardly even that.
Yeah.
But I was like, there might be a pretty big upset. So I considered taking the Giants, and damn, I'm glad I did not.
Yeah, 38-7. I mean, they had like one good
38-7.
drive. Saquon had that run, but
Game was over at halftime. Divisional round playoff game over at halftime. That's pretty bad. And I thought it would be a lot closer, just given the fact that they're both division rivals and they've played each other twice this year already. You'd think the Giants would be better prepared for the same team they've already played 2 other times this year. They've gotten some good looks, but no, they just get obliterated. And Jalen Hurts' first game back in how many weeks? Like 5-ish? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, Jalen Hurts played fantastic from what I saw. And it's going to be a hard offense to stop whoever you are. It's 49ers. They got a good defense, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, I think too, like, I just think like, looking at, who we're gonna have, just previewing the NFC Championship. Like, I think those 2 teams are just the most complete. I mean, it's just like it's gonna be a really good game to say the least. But yeah, I mean that Philly game against the Giants, it was just, man, like to your point, over at halftime. I mean, it almost makes you think like, did the Giants, like, was it a fluke against the Vikings? Would have been different if the Vikings played the Eagles. I don't know, maybe. So it's interesting.
It's interesting, and we'll leave it at that because this game was so insignificant that, like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's just like, what is there to talk about? The Eagles absolutely killed the Giants, and that's all there is to it. So, moving on. We got the Cowboys and the 49ers, and the Cowboys, oh man, they're so close.
Man, it was a stupid decision at the end there, just like last year. Why are you throwing medium when you need a Hail Mary? But yeah, I mean, I was rooting for Dallas. It's hard to say. I know, like, someone rooting for Dallas. That's not a Cowboys fan, but yeah, like I'm not a Niners fan by any means, and I knew this was going to be a good game. I mean, these teams have so much history, and I mean, the Niners played pretty solid. I don't think they played amazing, but they got the job done. Brock Purdy did his part, and they haven't lost since Bryce Harper sent the Phillies to the World Series, and so it's been a while, and the Niners are riding that momentum.
My
Yeah.
fault.
You're good. Yeah, it's one of those things where the Niners are riding momentum, and I feel like it's working because they're winning games that like maybe they're not specifically favored by a lot in, but they're still getting it done. And so, yeah, Purdy's done his thing, and I mean I gotta respect it, even though I'm not a Niners guy by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said last week that I don't think Brock Purdy's had to prove himself yet. And I still stand by that because the defense held the Cowboys to, I think it was 12 points. Am I right? I think 19-12 was the final.
12. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Is Brock Purdy, all you have to do is score more than 12 points and you win the divisional round. That's all it takes. Because your
yeah.
defense is so damn good that it doesn't matter who you throw in there. Why do you think Jimmy Garoppolo made a Super Bowl a few years ago? Almost won a Super Bowl, had a lead in the fourth quarter. They have the
Almost.
defense built to win a championship. That's it. You don't need, as long as the defense shows up and, holds a team to 12 points, you don't need a superstar quarterback. Trey Lance could have been in there and won the game. Jimmy Garoppolo could have been in there and won the game. Dak Prescott in a 49er uniform could have won that game. I feel like any starting quarterback in the NFL would have been capable of scoring 12 points, more than just 13 points against that's how good the 49er defense is.
Yeah.
And that's why they're going to be a really I'm stoked for the game today. I'm just going to say that right now. The Eagles and the Niners, it's going to be really fun. But like I said, I still don't think Brock Purdy's had to prove himself yet. And I'll say this right now. I think this is the game where he has to do that. This is the game right here. The NFC Championship today. I think this is the game where he has to show what he's made of, because the Eagles are a team that will score more than 12 points. I guarantee they will score more than 12 points. They just blew out their division rival Giants in the last round. They've been blowing teams out all year. They are a high-scoring offense that Brock Purdy's going to have to prove himself against.
100% agree. I mean, I think like he's gotten a lot of good wins against a lot of good teams, but the Eagles, I think, arguably are the best team in the NFL all around. I mean, well, obviously it's pointless to say now because we don't have our Super Bowl winner yet, but I think definitely in the NFC, of course. But I think the Niners have won many games in a row, and I think it's one of those things, like you said, it's like they've had Garoppolo playing, they've had Purdy. I mean, they even had a little bit of Lance at the beginning of the season, right? Or did he? I don't remember. And so, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like this game's going to be really, really good. And I think it's either going to be good in the sense that it's low scoring or it's going to be high scoring. But the one thing that's for sure is that both teams have really good defense. I mean, even the Eagles, like that defensive line is really scary. Fletcher Cox, I mean, he's really good as well. And so, I think Purdy is going to be his real test. If he can win this game, I mean, I might have to just pick the Niners to win it all at that point. I mean, he's never lost a game before, and so this will be his real challenge, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely right. So let's move on and talk about the game against the Eagles. I'm excited for it because you have two fantastic defenses, arguably the top two defenses in the league going at it.
Yeah, definitely. And like both these teams have like almost identical records, including playoffs. Like I think the Niners are 15 and something. I don't know. Like both teams have had very similar seasons, and like I think the Niners got a little bit colder at first and then lit things up at the end, and I feel like the Eagles started things really hot and then died down a little bit. So I think, I mean, I'll just go with my pick. I got the Eagles winning this, and I think it's just the simple reason is what we talked about. I think they have a better quarterback by a mile. I think Jalen Hurts has the potential to be one of the best NFL quarterbacks in the coming years. He is so versatile. He's athletic. His receivers are good. He's got A.J. Brown, and he's got Devontae Smith. I mean, I think the one thing that the Niners have over the Eagles, I think maybe the Niners defense is a little bit better. And they have great receivers too. I mean, they have George Kittle. They have Debo's. I think Debo's playing, and they have Brandon Ayuk, who's been a monster. And so I think both teams on paper aren't that different. I just think it's the quarterback thing, right?
Absolutely. That's what it comes down to is the quarterback, yeah.
So the Niners are going to have to, like, deal with that. Brock, yes, he can run, but he's not as athletic, in my opinion, as Jalen Hurts. So we'll definitely see.
And just to follow you, I'm also taking the Eagles, and I'll tell you why. Like we said, both these teams are elite defense teams. It's two of the top defenses in the league. So what is it going to come down to? It's going to come down to, like we said, the quarterback, because both teams have great offenses around them. Eagles having A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the 49ers having, like you said, Samuel, Ayuk, and all these other guys. And it's just going to come down to the quarterback. What quarterback can play the best? And I think it's the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy because, I just don't think Brock Purdy's proven himself yet. But I think the Eagles, they make it look easy. They really make it look easy when they're out there. They were kind of just, during the blowout of the Giants last week, they were just kind of sitting there on the sideline like they were like it was nothing, and that they were just already ready for the next round. I could just see the confidence that the Eagles had, and they're going to be a tough force to take down today.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's just, you're absolutely right. It comes down to the quarterback, and I think the Eagles have an edge on receivers. I think that's a tough debate because you have like Goddard and for their tight end versus Kittle. Like Kittle is definitely better, I think, but I think Ayuk and Devontae Smith is a good argument, and I think A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel is a good argument. But I feel like just given the quarterback situation, I feel like Hurts makes those guys better, on his own. So I think completely agree. I think it's gonna be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco wins. But for now, I'm still, yeah.
All right, and then the late game, the late game today. We already know it. It's Bengals Chiefs.
Yep. Who you got?
Oh man. Well, let me tell you right now. The Bengals and their mayor and their organization and their players and their fan base, top to bottom, all just think that this is going to be an easy win for the Bengals. Don't even worry about it. Chiefs are nothing to us. And so I really, really think that the Chiefs are taking this personally. Patrick Mahomes is a guy who keeps receipts. I'll tell you that right now. He's kept receipts over the years. And he performs well when he looks at the receipts. So I think the Bengals are just due for a humbling. I really do, because you beat the Chiefs the last 3 times. This is their argument, right? Oh, well, the Chiefs, we're 3-0 against them, and so we'll beat you again. That's their mindset, is that they've beaten us 3 times in a row. So therefore, there's no way they can lose to us. When the reality is that the Chiefs could have been easily 3-0. Every single game was decided by 3 points, and every single time the Chiefs, on at least one circumstance throughout the game, screwed themselves out of at least 3 points. So, one of the games went to overtime. It was the AFC Championship last year. The other 2 were regular season, or not regular time. You know what I mean. The other 2 were regulation time, and every single game, self-inflicted mental errors by the Chiefs that caused them at least 3 points. The first game, regular season last year, they are at the 1-yard line going into halftime, and instead of taking your 3, you get greedy and you try for the touchdown. Doesn't work, you don't get any points, you go into halftime, that's it. You blow the 21-3 lead or whatever it was. And then it was identical in the AFC Championship last year. Identical. They line up at the 1-yard line going into halftime, and they don't get it, and they go into halftime with no points rather than just taking the 3. And then what happens? You blow another 21-3 lead. It was identical. I couldn't believe it. And then this year, you had a crucial Travis Kelce fumble late in the game that gave the ball back to the Bengals, who turned around and got some points out of it. So every single time the Chiefs have played the Bengals, it has been a result of the Chiefs not playing to their best potential. It was a result of the Chiefs having self-inflicted mental errors and just making stupid decisions. Going for it instead of taking your 3 points. You had Travis Kelce, a guy who never fumbles, fumbling it. The Bengals have just absolutely lucked out all 3 games. And Bengals fans will tell me that I need to stop crying and coming up with excuses. Well, it's not an excuse, because anything I say to them is an excuse. You got the mayor out in Cincinnati talking about how Mahomes is Joe Burrow's son and all this shit that you hear on Twitter from 13-year-olds. I don't get it. They're in for a humbling. I really feel it. I really feel like the Chiefs have to win this game. It just, how often can a team continue to beat the same good team? This isn't the Bengals beating, I don't know, say the Chicago Bears 3 times in a row. No, this is the Kansas City Chiefs. And you're not going to keep beating them every single time you play. And Bradley just put in the chat, Burrowhead Stadium. That's another thing. Burrowhead Stadium. They're calling it Burrowhead because, oh, well, we own that stadium. Wow, okay, so 1 3-point victory in overtime against us means you own the stadium. Cool. I still remember, believe it was the 2018 season where we absolutely rocked the Bengals in their hometown when they still had Andy Dalton in them. It wasn't even a close game. It was an absolute blowout. You didn't hear Chiefs fans going around, renaming their stadium to make it like sound like the Chiefs own it. No, none of that. The Bengals are just, I give their fans a little bit of slack because a lot of them haven't really been around that long. So they haven't really experienced a tough loss yet, except for the Super Bowl last year. That was the first tough loss they've had to get through. But, I'm just saying, you'd think 4+ decades of mediocrity, the fan base, the organization, the player, you feel like everybody would be a little bit more humble about where they're at right now with a great team around them and a team built for years of success. But the truth is that they're not, and it's annoying. It's really annoying. It's how you quickly become one of the more hated fan bases in the league. And it's hard to catch that title. Like, you have to be from Philadelphia or something. But no. This is Cincinnati, Ohio, some random ass city in the middle of Ohio that nobody ever thinks twice about going to. And suddenly they get success, and suddenly they think that they're the shit every single game and every single playoff, and it doesn't make sense to me. Y'all lost the Super Bowl, and you're going to turn around, come back, and act like you're still the top dogs of the league. I don't get it. But I think the one concern, though, for the Chiefs is that, of course, the Mahomes ankle.
Right.
Only he knows how bad it truly is. There were videos of him practicing this week, and he looked fine. He looked like it was hardly an issue at all. I think we're probably going to see limited Patrick Mahomes, but that's okay, because guess what? I have a stat for you. Mahomes this season is, no, not this season. I'm sorry, his career. In Mahomes' career, he is 12-0 with 90% of his pass attempts come from the pocket. And so if we're going to have a non-mobile Patrick Mahomes, a Mahomes that can't really scramble a whole lot, run out the pocket a whole lot because he's limited from his ankle injury, we're going to see a lot of pass attempts come from inside the pocket, to which he is 12-0 in his career.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think the real thing for me is, like, when Mahomes gets sacked, what's going to happen, right? Like, I'm not worried about him, like, going into the game, but what happens when he runs and, there's a late hit, or, he gets sacked, or he gets caught in between linemen? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about those because I remember the Cleveland game 2 years ago, what happened. Like, it was sort of a similar situation, right? Like, when Chad Henne had to, like, finish the game off for you guys against Cleveland.
Absolute goat for that.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, yes, he might be fine now, but, like, what's going to happen in the middle of the game? Who knows? But yeah, I agree. Like, what your point about the Bengals being 3-0, like, and I completely agree. Like, it's just not relevant, right? The teams, like, this is a new game. It's not like important that the
Absolutely.
Bengals have won 3. It
The
doesn't
Bengals
necessarily change.
the
Yeah.
Bengals act like they own us when they've beaten us by 3 points every single time we've played them.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
I think the thing that draws me towards Cincinnati, and might have been the weather last week for Buffalo, but I think the fact that they beat Buffalo, I don't know. I didn't expect them to, and I feel like that sort of is going to probably help them. I mean, it definitely will with their confidence. But I do think the Chiefs are obviously a much more. I mean, they're more experienced in the playoffs by just to point that out. But I also think they're one of those teams that got really really hot at the right time, and they've been hot all season. But I feel like right now, like Mahomes, given that he's hopefully healthy, has been playing elite level. But so is Joe Burrow. So like we're gonna see. Like I think these teams are kind of similar. It's sort of like the other matchup there in the NFC, where like both teams have like I think Bengals probably take it on like offensive like receivers and stuff, and Joe Mixon and of course Jamar Chase. But I do think that the defenses, while they're not the strongest, have both played pretty good. Um, but I am gonna pick the Bengals. I don't. I for 2 reasons. I kind of want to have a different opinion than you, just so we can make things interesting. But also, I do acknowledge just how good the Bengals have been playing, and it's nothing against the Chiefs. They've been playing great too, but I just feel like that Buffalo game really made me confident in Cincinnati. And I mean, they got to stay classy though. I totally agree with you. Like they're like you said have been pretty much bottom of the barrel ever since Boomer left the team. But they're acting like they've been good for decades, and it's just not the case. So it'll be really interesting to see, though. I mean, I think it's one of those games where it's similar, like I said, in another way to the Eagles Niners game, where it's like it's truly like there's no really favorite. It's one of those things where it's just like either team could win, and I wouldn't really be surprised. But I got Cincinnati, not by much though, and I mean, I like it's the same thing. I'm not surprised if the Chiefs pull this out. Seriously, I'm not.
I find it fascinating, my friend, that you are riding high on the Bengals mainly because they're showing against the Bills. Do I have to like rewind a little bit to when the Bills were losing to Skylar Thompson in the third quarter of that football game in the wild card round, beating them by 3 points? I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like the Bills. I kind of just felt this coming. The Bills barely beat a battered and bruised Dolphins team that had no reason to be in the playoffs at all. Third string quarterback, just hospital bedroom of a roster. You almost lost to them. You were this close. Skylar Thompson, the Dolphins, had possession of the football, and they had the time on their side to go downfield and get at least a game-tying field goal. Obviously, they choked it away, but they had the opportunity. Bills fans were sweating at the ticking seconds of the game against the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. So I'm not. That was like my main reasoning for picking the Bengals over the Bills last week, and it wasn't really all that surprising that the Bills got exposed for who they were, a team that can't play in snowy weather, cold weather, a team that's not built for Buffalo weather, even though they're from Buffalo, a team that has a quarterback that still makes dumb decisions, like rookie decisions in his 5th year as a quarterback. So I just am not surprised at that. I think the Chiefs are going to be a lot better than what the Bills were last week. And you can make the argument, oh, well, the Bills beat the Chiefs this year. Yeah, that was week 6. Chiefs were still figuring out who they were with this brand new revamped offense. The Bills just, I don't know what it is with Josh Allen, but his career stats are just phenomenal in Arrowhead, exclusively Arrowhead. I don't understand it, but that's just the way it is. Yeah. But yeah, I think the Chiefs, I don't see them losing back-to-back AFC championships to the same team. I can't see them losing 4 in a row to the same team, which includes 2 AFC championships. I just can't see it, especially when the games have been paper-thin close. It's just it.
Yeah.
That's just it. They're due. The Bengals are due, and they're not really a team that I can see going to back-to-back Super Bowls for some reason. It's just a weird team to go back-to-back like that. I don't see it happening. I think the Chiefs win today. I
Yeah.
really do, because I feel like it's due. It's just due. You can't keep losing to the same team. You just can't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, my other thought was like, I guess I expected the Chiefs to, and just given how good the Chiefs have been, I expected the Chiefs to beat Jacksonville by more. And that's why, and I know Jacksonville had that crazy comeback, and that's what made them having even a chance. I think that momentum was there, but I don't know. It's nothing against the Chiefs. I just think like I expected them to maybe win by like more, just given like I guess the firepower on. Like I think the Chiefs are undoubtedly a lot better, on paper, and then I think also just in not on just in reality too. But no, I definitely agree with your point though. Like I think Buffalo is one of those teams that super good beginning of the season. Like they're the Super Bowl pick basically for everyone, and even at the beginning of the playoffs, I feel like. And then Skylar Thompson, all that happens, but I feel like two. I mean, the Bengals, it's sort of the same case. Bengals did not play super good. And they did, but they didn't play like their defense bailed them out against the Ravens, and with that 98-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. So I sort of saw those as canceling out a little bit. Like Tyler Huntley's Ravens played good against the Bengals, and Skylar Thompson's Dolphins played good against the Bills, and maybe both teams just had bad games. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see though. It's like one of those things. I think it could go either way. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, a Chiefs Niners Super Bowl would be awkward for me as a fan. We had that. Raiders fans had that happen to them 3 years ago, whatever it was. And yeah, 3 years ago, and it was not fun. So I hope either Philly or Cincinnati wins. But I mean, yeah, the two red teams in right now are just really playing good. So we'll see what happens.
Well, listen, 3/4 of Chiefs football with Chad Henne and Patrick Mahomes on a bad ankle, limping every single time he drops back to pass. Even that team scoring 27 points, I think, is impressive. And yeah, the Jags kept it close. They had a garbage time field goal, so I mean, it really was a lot closer than we remember. But when you're putting up 27 points with Chad Henne leading a 98-yard touchdown drive and as one and only drive of the game, and then Mahomes coming back and playing limping the entire time because he loses his mobility entirely. And I saw on First Things First, the talk show, Nick Wright, great dude. I saw his quarterback rankings. I don't know if you saw them, but he has at number one, obviously, far and away Patrick Mahomes. There's nobody else in the league and that I think is better. Then you have Joe Burrow, which I agree with. I think Joe Burrow has proven himself as the second best quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes. Third place, and we really saw it last week, was Patrick Mahomes on one ankle. I think it's true. I think it's true. I think Patrick Mahomes played better on one ankle than Josh Allen did, than Dak Prescott did, than Daniel Jones did, than Trevor Lawrence did. I mean, clearly. Trevor Lawrence, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for that guy. I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the coming years. But lost to a bad ankle, Patrick Mahomes. And so I just think Mahomes is he's just a difference maker. And I don't know. You wanted more points from the Chiefs over the Jags. I guarantee you there would have been more if Mahomes didn't have 3/4 of a bad ankle and Chad Henne having to lead a drive. So that's just the way I see it. But I think Mahomes will be at least 85% today, if I had to guess, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know, man.
I mean, definitely agree. I think it's crazy what Mahomes can do, right? Like healthy or on one leg. But I mean, it's going to be a test for both teams. I mean, it's like, can the Bengals keep that talk up, keep all that chatter, and go up 4-0 in the last 4 meetings? I don't know. Can the Chiefs defy that past history and get back to the Super Bowl? I mean, I think the storylines are immense, and it just makes sense that these two teams are here because I feel like, like we've been talking about, Burrow and Mahomes are like the future, and they've both been playing really, really good for these past 3, and for Mahomes even longer than that, years. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really, really interesting on that side. I think in the NFC, I think it's just like even more interesting because you have Brock Purdy. He totally makes things crazy. He's the last pick in the draft, and then you have Jalen Hurts, who yes, he's a great quarterback, but he was overlooked too, at many points in his career. So yeah, I mean, whoever makes it, I mean, I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl, possibly even better than last year, because I think just given the firepower, all four of these teams have superstars. All four of these teams have very good records. All four of these teams, with the exception of individual players, have had experience in the playoffs. So we'll definitely see. I think it's the quarterbacks that's interesting. They're all four of them are relatively young. So, I mean, definitely Brock Purdy, especially as a rookie. You have Joe Burrow in year 3, and then you have Mahomes and he's been playing, but he was back up his first year, and then Jalen Hurts, who he's only been since year 32, right? So yeah, I mean it's really an interesting year for NFL football, and I think it's gonna be a great Super Bowl.
If the Bengals make it, we're going to have a great quarterback in the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs make it, we're going to have a great quarterback in the Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts makes it, he's going to have a great quarterback in the Super Bowl. If Brock Purdy makes it, we'll see. We'll see. I think, honestly, from a fan and entertainment perspective, I would want the Chiefs and I would want the Eagles. Just because, that would be really, really good. Two very good offenses going at it. Defense-wise, I think the Eagles are a lot better. But, we'll have to wait and see after today. But it's going to be a fun day. It's 12:15 Eastern Time, which means that the first game starts in under 3 hours.
Crazy.
So, it'll be fun. It will be fun.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that's about it, I guess. We'll catch you next week. Casey, thanks for joining me once again. And to the viewers this time, because this is one of the rare occasions where we did live rather than pre-recorded, so thanks for joining us. Everybody, I see Bradley's been watching for a long time. That's a goat for real right there. Ruben in the chat for a long time. Shout out to my guy Justin. Haven't talked to him in a while. And then Tyler, I hope you were sticking around to make me the waffles. I'm gonna go out there and see if they're there on the counter. But yes, all right. Thank you for watching, guys, and we'll catch you next week for the Super Bowl. Well, no, 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. Peace.